So the Tanya for today, we are holding in page 50 in the bottom. We're still holding in Epistle 29, Igeres Hakodesh, Monday the 20th of Cheshvan. Will is the exterior of pleasure. For a person wants that which brings them pleasure. Pleasure being the highest experience of soul. So we have the concept of ratzon. Ratzon, we know will is higher than wisdom. We are using our wisdom for our ratzon, meaning you have a ratzon, you have a will, and then you're using your mind to accomplish that ratzon. So will is higher than wisdom. But within will itself, there's a reason why you want something. If I want it, it means that I associate it with pleasure. There's two things we're always concerned with. The pursuit of pleasure and the to be afraid of pain. These two things are always on our mind subconsciously. How can we enjoy things? And how can we stay away from painful things? That's why people hate the dentist, because the dentist is always associated with pain. So he's the most hated doctor that you can possibly think of. People always push off any kind of a dentist appointment because it's associated with pain. But within will itself, there's the aspect of pleasure. The exterior aspect of will is pleasure. And we'll discuss it. והנה אור הזה הגנוז לצדיקים לעתיד לבוא, הנקרא בשם נועם השם. The light hidden away for the righteous, for the tzaddikim, for the time to come, is termed as above the pleasantness of God. Noam Hashem, and a pleasurable thirst of delighting in God. Uses an interesting word in Hebrew, Noam Hashem vetzachzachot, להתענג על השם. tzachzachot. Tzachzachot is referring to pleasurable thirst, meaning as much, we mentioned it yesterday, that as much as you are provided with this pleasure, you become hungrier and hungrier to that. You want it more and more. So it's a pleasurable thirst. tzachzachot. ודלת מאות עלמין דחיסופין דמתענגי בעון צדיקה יאכולו כמו שכתוב 400 שקל כסף. It says that the 400 worlds of longing in which the tzaddikim delight. It's also from the Zohar. As it is written, 400 shekalim of silver kesef. We just read in the parasha that Avraham is purchasing the cave for the burial of Sarah. And how much did he pay to Ephron? 400 shekel kesef. Now, in Kabbalistic terminology, what does 400 shekel represents? So it says the Aramaic phrase translated, worlds of longing, is almin de kisufin. Nichsof nichsafti, the concept of kisufin is longing. You're waiting, anticipating for something. You have longing for something. The root of the second word, kesef, what does kesef means? Not only silver, simple meaning of the word kesef is silver, but also longing, milshon kisufim, nichsafti. As in the phrase, nichsof nichsafta, this pasuk comes, nichsof nichsafta, when Lavan runs after Yaakov and he says to him, why did you go without telling me? And then he answers himself. He says, nichsof nichsafta leveit avicha. That you had this longing to the house of your father, and that's why you ran away without letting me know that you're living. You just left. So kesef can also mean longing. Hence the Kabbalah relates the above reference to 400 shkalim of kesef that Avraham gave Ephron to the 400 worlds of longing, whose spiritual delights are reserved for tzaddikim. So this light is reserved for the tzaddikim, and they go from one level to the next. And it says, continuing, in yesh bo ma'alot u'madregot rabot me'od, there's many, many levels. Comprises very many rungs and levels. One is superior to the other. Gavoa ma'al gavoa. אך הערה מועטת היורדת מדרגה אחר מדרגה livroo levush zeh, but the minute radiation which descends level after level to create this garment that garbs the soul belongs to the lowest level of this light. In order to create a garment, it has to be descends level after level to create the garment. What is the use of the garment? Is to garb the soul. Belongs to the lowest level of this light. ונקראת בשם מדרגה החיצונה והאחוריים דרך משל. Metaphorically speaking, it is referred to as the external level, or אחוריים, the hinder part. כמו שכתוב בזוהר דף ר"ח עמוד ב', עיין בספר מקדש מלך, famous book of the Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, also in page Reish Yud Amud Bet Umadi Ishtar. So it's stated in the Zohar and the commentary of Mikdash Melech, and that which is left. What does it mean? Umadi Ishtar, and that which is left, meaning that the light which is the source of the garment is of the most external or hindmost level. The Alter Rebbe now goes on to explain that the external level of this radiance from which these garments derive is called the supernal will. Will, as is soon to be explained, is external aspect, consequence of pleasure or delight. So in other words, I have to have pleasure. I have to associate something with pleasure in order for me to want it. Once I want it, then I'm using everything I got to acquire it. So pleasure is really in somewhat superior to will. Delight is higher. והנה כמו שבנשמת האדם יש בה כוח התענוג שמתענגת ממה שיש לה עונג ממנו כמו מהשכלת שכל חדש וחיי גבנה. Now in the soul of man there is a faculty for pleasure. The soul takes pleasure in what it finds pleasurable, as in the conception of a new insight or the like. So for a smart person, when he is introduced to a new concept, new insight, he gets pleasure out of it. Talk to a simpleton, he wouldn't care. We talk to a person who is intelligent, he would be excited about it. ובחינת חיצוניות ואחוריים של כוח ובחינת התענוג שבה היא בחינת כוח הרצון שבה, שהוא רוצה מה שהוא רוצה, דהיינו דבר שאינו צער, שהצער היפך התענוג. The external and the hindmost aspect of the soul's power and state of delight is its faculty of will. Willing that which it wills. You want whatever you want. Something that is not painful. For pain is the opposite of delight. So you want a delight, and the reason why you don't want pain because it's the opposite of pleasure. A person desires something because it gives him pleasure. Pleasure is the inner aspect of desire, which is considered external consequent to it. Metaphorically speaking, it is the same with the infinite Ein Sof, as it were. הרצון העליון ברוך הוא בחינת חיצוניות ואחוריים לבחינת עונג העליון. The רצון העליון, the supernal will, is the external and hindmost aspect, the resultant חיצוניות and אחוריים, externality and hindmost of the above mentioned supernal delight, the pleasantness of God and the pleasurable thirst and the worlds of longing. Thus, when we state that the garment for the soul derives from the achoraim and chitzoniut, from the hindmost and the externality of the supernal delight, this means that it derives from the supernal will. הגם שמיוחדים בתכלית האיחוד שהוא יתברך ורצונו אחד. The supernal delight and the supernal will are fused in absolute unity. Pleasure and ratzon and will, they are fused in absolute unity. for God and His will are one. ולא כרצון האדם חס ושלום, and heaven forfend like the will of man, neither wholly nor partially, לא מיניה ולא מקצתיה, ואין דמיון ביניהם כלל. There being no similarity whatsoever between them. Man's will is not holy. Not holy in not whole. Man's will is not wholly one with the person himself, meaning it's an external, it's an outer aspect of the person. It is one of the soul's faculties that he possesses. One of the things he possesses is will. By contrast, God and His will are one. How then can we differentiate above between pleasure and will, saying that the pleasure of God comes from one faculty and the will of God comes from another faculty, saying that God's pleasure is internal and His will is external? How can we say that? By God everything is one. אף על פי כן, דיברה התורה כלשון בני אדם. The Torah speaks in human idiom. כלשון בני אדם, לשכך האוזן מה שיכולה לשמוע במשל ומליצה מנשמת האדם, הכלולה מכוח התענוג והרצון והחוכמה והבינה, in order to modulate for the ear what is able to hear, with allegory and metaphor relating to the soul of man, which compounds the faculty of delight, will, wisdom, understanding, and so on. Just as in men, pleasure is described as internal and will is as external, so do we describe the corresponding attributes above. To say that the pleasure of God is the inner aspect, it says Hashem's, when Noach brought a korban, right? It says, Vayar et reach hanichoach. Hashem saw this pleasurable aroma. It was a pleasant aroma to Hashem. So there is an aspect of pleasure when it comes to God. The aspect of will. כנראה בחוש שכשאדם משכיל איזה שכל חדש נפלא, אזי באותה רגע על כל פנים נולד לו תענוג נפלא בשכלו. This is empirically evident. For when a person conceives some wonderful new insight, then at that moment, at least, a wondrous delight is born in his mind. מכלל שהתענוג הוא למעלה מבחינת השכל והחוכמה, רק שמלובש בבחינת שכל וחוכמה. It follows that the capacity for pleasure surpasses by far the faculty of intellect and wisdom. It merely is vested in the faculty of intellect and wisdom. It's only vested there, but it surpasses it by far. וכשאדם מרגיש השכל וחוכמה, דהיינו שמשיגה ומבינה היטב, אזי מרגיש גם כן בחינת התענוג המלובש בחוכמה. When a man feels a subject of intellect and wisdom, that is, he apprehends and understands it well, he then also senses the faculty of pleasure which is vested in the subject of wisdom.
Just quick, so in this world where it's very easy to have a physical pleasure, most people live for, they hear it now. So basically the idea of doing Torah mitzvah and learning is actually kind of bending to Hashem's will. It gives Him the smell that He likes. We're giving pleasure to Hashem by giving ourselves over to the aspect of doing Torah and mitzvah. Per se, if you're about tshuva and you start to do these things, hopefully correctly, that says a lot. This is the pleasure that we get when we get new insight, new wisdom. But basically everything is coming from Hashem. So it's almost like one hand washing the other. We're not doing maybe what we used to do. We're now learning.
Well, it says that when a person changes his ways, if someone was used to do one thing for many years and then suddenly he changes, there's a tremendous delight in the upper worlds, because someone is used to do something every day, then it's expected of him. It's like the Gemara says, if someone comes to shul every day, for example, and one day he decided not to, or he didn't show up, it says Hashem shoel alav. God is asking where he's at, because he's used to come every day. Not necessarily in a negative way, but God is inquiring. He's used to come to my home to visit me, and now he's not coming, so where is he? On the other hand, a person doesn't show up and suddenly comes, there's also great excitement. Wow, this person didn't show up for many years and suddenly he comes. So it obviously creates pleasure upstairs, but the number one cause of pleasure is what we see in the prophets when the prophet rebuked Shaul, the King Saul. He told them, Tov shemoa mizevach tov, that the listening is better than the best fatty animal that you can bring. The listening to God. If God told you to eradicate Amalek, you have to eradicate Amalek. But then you comes with your logic and calculation that why to waste the animals, right? I mentioned it in the morning, why to waste the animals? You can use them for, they're good for offerings. It says, no, I told you to eradicate Amalek, you have to eradicate him. Everything that he possesses, right? So the number one thing that brings, that is a cause of pleasure to Hashem is the listening. That you follow what it says in Shulchan Aruch, you follow what it says in the Torah, you follow what the rabbis instruct you to do, and so on. This is why it is in the sacred Zohar, the faculty of Binah is referred to as the world to come. Why? The world to come is referred to Binah. Because the state of Binah, the level of Binah, is a manifestation of Chokhmah together with the delight vested in it, which the righteous, shemasigim atzadikim, began Eden umaskilim b'pnimiut haTorah, which the righteous in the Garden of Eden apprehend and conceive new insight in the pnimiut, the innermost mystical dimension of the Torah. We mentioned a few times the concept of speak about Gehenna. So what is Gehenna? So we learned that being in a place and being unable to enjoy it and to understand what is happening is a type of Gehenna. I think was it Rabbi Amnon Yitzchak? A famous story that he said that a guy claimed that he was he's never gonna pray, he's never gonna learn anything. He's gonna claim that he didn't know how to read. So finally he makes it there, and he says, he asked him, did you learn? Did you set up time for learning? He said, no, I didn't know how to read. He said, listen, you didn't know how to read, come in. So he goes in there, and he says, tzaddikim sitting, having a good time. He doesn't know what they're doing. There's no action, there's no party, there's nothing happening. So he said, you know what, let me check what's happening on the other side. So he goes to the other side, and the guy tells him, listen, you want to come in? I don't know if you'll be able to come out. He said, no, I have a pass, I can come out. So he goes in, and he sees everybody's partying, sitting around the pool. James said, told him, this is Gehenna, it looks like it's a good place. He said, no, right now we have a break. Soon the ovens are going to start cooking. They turn on the heat in the pool. So time comes, they turn on the heat, everybody goes down for the ritual cleansing, and he goes to the door. He says, want to go out? He said, you can't go out. He said, what do you mean? I have a pass. The angel said, I don't know how to read. So he doesn't know how to read. So good luck. Understand? So everything you can say can be used against you, right?
In a court of law.
So the Gemara says a person will claim he was very wealthy. They'll bring a sage that was wealthier than him. It'll be Lezer. And if he's going to say he was poor and didn't have money and he couldn't survive and he had to go to work and he didn't have time to learn, they'll bring Hillel. There was no one more poor than Hillel. So there's no excuses. Why not to set up time for learning? But ultimately, if someone attaches himself to the Torah, he derives pleasure from it. It says, "U'metzah chaim im ha'isha asher ahavta." U'metzah chaim, you find life. Im ha'isha, the isha is referring to the Torah, the wife that you love. So ultimately, it brings pleasure. For it is in the state of manifestation of Chokhmah together with the light vested in it, which the righteous in the Garden of Eden apprehend and conceive new insight in the pnimiut, innermost mystical dimensions of the Torah. So if someone was not involved with it in this world, what does he have with new insights, new delight? He can't even, he has to learn alphabet to get the new insights. What do you do? The Oraita v'chokhmah nafka. The Torah derives from chokhmah. V'oraita v'kudshabrichu kol uchad. And the Torah and the Holy One, blessed be He, are entirely one. Through gaining a perception of pnimiyut, of the innermost, in the manner in which the soul apprehends it in the Garden of Eden, where it apprehends the essence of godliness. And this delight itself, as the Rabbi adds, is utterly inward. As explained above, the soul gains an apprehension of God's infinite light, and in order for it to be able to absorb this degree of illumination, it must be equipped with the protective and receptive garments. So they are protective and receptive garments. Not only they are enabling you to contain this light, they are enabling you to have it to begin with. Receptive. Garment of the mitzvot, as previously explained. Baruchim to you. Take the Tanya for today.